Hey, it's Marley. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I thought I would hop on this semi-popular trend on BookTube where I read 1-star reviews of my favorite books or books I've rated 5 stars. Thought this could be interesting to see why people hate some of my favorite books. It might be upsetting as well, but let's see. First of all, let's look at Aristotle and Dante discover secrets of the universe. Some of these reviews look long. Okay, let's see. Where do I even begin with this review? I don't know what killed book for me the most, the terrible writing, the one-dimensional characters, or the lack of a plotline. First of all, it's a coming of age story, so yeah, there's not gonna be like a huge plot line, but it's about these characters, and I felt like they were three-dimensional. Okay, I don't understand the hype for this book, nor do I understand why the cover is decorated with awards. Was I reading the same story as everyone else? This was my 3rd time trying to read this book. It took me 3 tries to finish it. Okay, obviously books are not for everyone, and I feel like if it took you 3 times, like, clearly it's not for you. But I think the main issue with this book is Aristotle and Dante themselves. The character's voice fell flat. Ari kept thinking dumb quotes, trying too hard to sound philosophical or some shit, and Dante cried over everything. The two of them were so immature, I felt like I was reading about 10-year-olds. Okay, well, they were only like, I think 15 or 16. Like, you're not far off. Like, these are teens. See, I wonder how old this person reviewing this is, because you do have to keep in mind these are young adults. Aristotle and Dante's friendship didn't feel real. There was zero chemistry between the two of them. You get no feelings while reading about their relationship. I did. It was all very bland and emotionless. Also, Ari and Dante sounded too much alike with me. It was almost like they were the same person. I feel like they're very different people. I don't think the writing here is lyrical like the tagline says. It's more like cringeworthy and simple, and I mean that in a bad way. And do you notice how I keep starting my sentences with "and"? That's how every other sentence began in this book, and I found that very annoying. And the dialogue was atrocious, and there were no breaks, beats in the writing. I disagree. Okay. I cannot muster the energy to recommend gay books where one of the kids gets beaten up for being gay anymore. Cheap. I know it happens, but at this point it's just too damaging to include in so many books. Okay, that's fair, but I also think this book is a little bit older, so I don't think, you know, current books being published would have that as much, but I see what they're saying. I think it's because it's a bit of an older book. Actually, doesn't this book take place in like the 80s or something? So I think that's kind of why. Final nail in the coffin for the story with the brother's backstory. We've already had anti-gay violence that ends up hospitalizing one of the main characters, but now we get the brother's backstory where a trans woman is used as a prop to give the brother an unforgivable past. Completely unnecessary to include a trans woman murder as a little surprise at the end. Anyways, they were upset about the gay and trans suffering in this book, which is definitely valid, but I think like this is one of those books that does touch on the darker elements of what it's like to be gay, especially, as I said, I think this takes place in the 80s or something, like sometime in the past. I definitely think you can get lighter-hearted LGBT stories in a lot of other books, but this is just one that happens to have like a darker tone to it. These reviews are all like really long. I think I'm gonna move on to the next book. Okay, let's do The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Again, 1-star reviews. Why are they all literally so long? Okay, I'm sorry, Raven Boys. Truly I am. This is obviously a case of it's not you, it's me. Okay, at least they're admitting that, right? You had so much going for you. Glowing recommendations from trusted reviewers, a unique plot with minimum focus on if I kiss my true love, he'll kick it angst, zero slut shaming or other problematic issues common in YA, but you were in the wrong hands. Julie Kagawa would have made me commit to A Raven Boy instead of merely feeling lackluster interest. Wisecracks would have been flying out of the Thunderdome. First of all, The Raven Boys is actually very, very funny. That was one of my favorite parts about the series. So wisecracks, like, yeah, it has them. What are you trying to say? Marie Lu would have solved the pacing issue lickety split and would have me reading well into the night, heart pounding in anticipation. What's going to happen next? Will Gansey find the ley line? And the Welsh version of Sleeping King Arthur, will they kiss? The pacing issue. I read this book in 24 hours. So I didn't find a pacing issue. I clearly found like I could keep reading it. Leah Raider would have pricked her finger and bled rainbow over your pages, turning your dull, wishy-washy prose into gold, lyrical without the purple. I think the writing was good. I think I don't know what they're saying there. Alas, you were ruined by dreamy Laini Taylor prose. Its timeless quality makes you feel like you've been reading it forever and ever and ever. I actually just started reading my first Laini Taylor, so I can't exactly speak to that comparison, but the big plot twist felt about as climactic as opening a can of tuna. There's no sense of urgency, no reason to keep me turning pages. Something's blurred for a spoiler. I was more than halfway through before finally finding out why Gansy's looking for an ancient Welsh king. As for the kiss and die plot point, perhaps I'm getting old, but I can think of loads of other things to do other than kiss. This is young adult. This is young adult. Come on. Kiss through a mask, make Eskimos, and rub noses. There are so many loopholes to this rule, it seems pointless. Okay, like, I think they're missing the point. Okay, let's do A Court of Thorns and Roses. Yes, I did give this 5 stars. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ACOTAR drinking game. Okay, this actually seems like it might be a funny review. What you need: a copy of ACOTAR, an alcoholic beverage of your choice, 1 or more friends to play with. Seriously, don't do this alone. How it works: drink every time you read the words, a shiver went down my spine. My knees buckled. In a heartbeat / a heartbeat later. I would never be able to paint it. Male, female. That does annoy me. Smirk, snarl, prowl, purr. Take a shot every time Tamlin or Rhysand's overwhelming sexiness is mentioned. The word claim is used in connection to sex. Feyre uses ableist slurs or blames her dad for being disabled. Oh no. Bonus: finish your drink when Feyre is harassed by Tamlin or Rhysand, but in a sexy way, so it's okay. Feyre complains about how difficult that ridiculous riddle is. Okay, now that is a funny 1-star review, so I approve of that. I still don't think in any way this book should be given 1 star because of entertainment value. I just don't think it should be. But I know Sarah does include a lot of like repetitive statements and stuff and word choices and things like that. So that is true. I'm a second away from dousing myself in gasoline and lighting myself on fire just so I never have to look at this book again. That is just ridiculous. Like, this is fun. Okay, now I'm gonna look at Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I cannot even express to you guys how bland this book was. Like tofu, like unseasoned chicken breast, like brown bread with no peanut butter. Just miss me with that shit. Miss me with it all day. I thought this book was so fun and magical. Okay, there's young adult for intelligent thinking young adults, right? And some young adult is for itty bitty babies that don't yet understand the dynamics of the Frozen movie plot. What? This is not just the Frozen movie plot. The book is too immature and silly and ridiculous and dumb to be written for any young adults I know. That's all I can say. Oh, also in all fairness, I only listened to about 3 hours of it, but it was torture and offended me as a woman about every 5 minutes. I feel like some of these people reviewing are adults, and it's like, if you think it's too immature, I'm sorry, then read an adult book. The 1 star is for the fantasy part of the story. The writer did a nice job of creating a colorful visual world. Yes, she did. She did. I felt this was promising at first, but as it went on, I just became more and more annoyed. The main character just lets things happen to her for half the book, and her romance felt entirely unbelievable to me. I actually thought the romance was really great. One of my favorite parts. Speaking of the end, it felt contrived. Why were all these new things suddenly explained to me? Sometimes it fit together in the puzzle that is the story, but I can't help but feel that the final revelations were more than odd, not in a good way either. Okay, I respect a review that says that they understand it's not for them. I do think there are like things at the end that are meant to, I think, make you intrigued for the rest of the series. So maybe that's why I didn't feel like they were properly explained. I don't know. A list of things I don't care about. 1, long, slim, pale fingers. 2, high cheekbones. 3, cherub's face, devil's smile. 4, honey-colored curls. 5, the moon, stars, and their golden, silvery bright light. 6, long lashes. 7, insta-love. I'm sorry, if you don't like any of those things, don't read YA. Don't read a YA fantasy. That's what I have to say. Okay, let's look at Evelyn Hugo. I don't know who would give this a bad review. Well, I never thought I'd see the day where I didn't fall in love with a TJR book, but here we are. I'm sure I'll be the black sheep on this, and I'll never understand why. I hated this book, and I say that very, very infrequently. I hated every single character with the exception of maybe 1, but even he turned out to be a huge disappointment eventually. Okay, so I guess people who struggle with reading about unlikable characters would potentially have trouble with this. That makes sense. Like, who don't like morally gray, potentially unlikable characters. Plot was both simplistic yet beyond difficult to believe. So which is it? What a plain read. Wow, that was awful. The content is of the supermarket tabloid variety, and the writer lacks all subtlety and grace. She might as well have beaten you over the head with a mallet as introduce her themes. The book is the stuff that gives chick lit a bad name. I guess so. Taylor does really focus on the themes that she puts in. Like, I see what they mean by that, but I guess I just always am like moved by the themes. I don't know. I was so disappointed in this. Started with a good premise, but by the end had dissolved into persuasive essays on modern political hot button topics. There were a lot of unbelievable scenarios. Some of the marriages seemed forced to provide a theme of lots of marriages. The events of the twist didn't really make sense. An 80-year-old using all contemporary and politically correct phrasing. Also, too much descriptive sex. She has nice breasts, we get it. I don't remember that. Okay, what about Truly Devious? You can't write a mystery with no ending. There are 2 mysteries introduced in this plotting slog. There was no real story in the present day timeline until well past the halfway point. And by the end, neither of them are solved. This was a waste of time. Okay, that's interesting because I went into this book knowing that it was a 3-book series. So I could see why there would be more negativity if you read the first book like right when it came out kind of thing and didn't know it was going to be a series. That's kind of valid. This mystery does get dragged out a lot. Still think it was 5 stars though. All I have to say is that I read this book and had a reading slump so bad that I didn't read for almost 2 years. That is so sad. That is. I do feel bad for this person. Maybe she could have read the subsequent books and that could have helped. Oh, and the way the parents are pictured and the relationship between Stevie and them. Just horrible dialogues and stiff and weird. The parents are described to be as dumb as 3-year-olds. And that Stevie always says smart things. Haven't heard her say one smart thing. Just common sense things, and her parents can't be that dumb. That's so funny. Oh, when I read some reviews beforehand, I was promised a twist and mega cliffhanger. Once that happens, I just rolled my eyes and threw the book away. Yeah, I think it's another thing where it's like you have to put yourself in the mind of the character. And if this is like a 16-year-old girl, she probably sees her parents as dumb. I don't know. Or yeah, maybe Maureen had to make the parents seem dumber so that she could seem smart. I don't know. I can't remember. The plot was intriguing and I was invested in the mystery, but the characters and writing style were a real bore. It tried so hard to be mysterious and dark academia, but felt more like Riverdale. Okay, I think something I like about these books is that they're actually funny as well. And like the characters, I think feel pretty real and like a fun little friend group. So I don't know what they mean about it being a bore or like Riverdale. The book was 400 pages and yet nothing was happening in most of them. I had to skim so much to figure out what was the purpose to the dragging scenes and where the actual flesh, the mystery. The book didn't set up anything incredible, so this series will be a DNF for me. Okay, yeah, maybe that's something people don't like is when mysteries do have other elements. Some people might go for a mystery thriller just for those elements, but this is one that actually includes a lot of character stuff. So if you're skimming past that, I mean, you're missing out on that. Let's look at Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is more of a recent one. I don't know what the hell I was thinking the first time I listened to this. I mean, I fell asleep a lot. Tried to re-listen and had to skim through for falling asleep. See, when people start skimming, it's like you are not actually taking in the story then. So obviously you're not going to enjoy it. Oof, talk about disappointment. I've been waiting for this book to come out since its release was announced. You can imagine just how annoyed I am. I tried so hard to finish at least half of this book, but I just could not. I'm not gonna lie, I just could not believe Leigh Bardugo wrote this. The same author who wrote Six of Crows wrote this? Nah. All of the 200 pages I read, I didn't have a single clue about what was happening. Didn't know who or what this Dante was. Realized halfway through that Alex hadn't finished high school and that was rescued from a life of misery, blah blah. And all of this mess, it's hard to give a damn about Yale's secret societies. It is a little bit info dumpy and hard to understand at first. I feel like you have to push your way through. Also, I thought this book was a lot better than Six of Crows. Not that I hated Six of Crows, but it disappointed me. So maybe it's kind of for a different audience than her previous books. Okay, let's try No Exit, which is my favorite book so far that I've read this year. What I would describe as a complete waste of reading time. I'm so offended by that. Seeing some reviews in 2018, I thought the cover was intriguing, so I purchased a copy. I just got around to reading it this month. The premise was ridiculous, the story outrageous and totally unbelievable. I mean, are books often that believable, fiction books? You know what I mean? Like, silly comments and graphic scenes that were just gratuitous. I don't think so. Total frustration with these characters and lack of any cohesiveness. Repetitive, non-stop eye-rolling and should have been a DNF. It was like a low-budget, B-rated horror movie. No thanks. Sorry, obviously this one was a massive fail, not recommended. I actually am shocked by this. I'm actually very shocked about negative reviews for this book. That actually is upsetting me. What the bloody hell was that? Unfortunately, I DNF at 30%. The plot was ridiculous. Isn't that the point of like reading? Is like to read crazy, like intense stories? Like that's what thrillers are. What? Darby was an irritating character? My queen? And if you were stuck in a blizzard, why wouldn't you have a plan B? She didn't plan to be stuck in a blizzard. What do you mean? For heaven's sake, Miss Taylor. Taylor is a man, first of all. Get the plot right. This one was a forgettable book. Would not recommend. This is the most upsetting one yet. It wasn't particularly a bad book, but I hated every second of it. Interesting. For those who know me know I am severely picky. I'm even more picky with thrillers. That is my favorite genre. So you either roll with the suspense or get a nasty review. But what in the blue hell was this? There was no characterization. Sorry, I'm just getting shocked. There's just annoying main character stuck in a blizzard, not knowing what to do. She tries many things. She tries to do many things. Where the hell did she came from? What led to the blizzard? What led to the blizzard? Blizzards just happen. What do you mean? Why should readers wait for something big to happen? There was stuff happening throughout this whole book. What? It is a freaking, I really wanted to use the F word, but I digress, thriller. That means you have to build up characterization from the beginning. I should not have to wait for eternity for something to pull me in. Granted, there are a few thrillers with the exception to this rule, but not many. I am shocked by this review. The pacing was rushed. And the only exit was me moving the hell out. The pacing was literally amazing in this book. It was so fast-paced. It was so exciting. I'm shocked. Of course, it has rave reviews. What a surprise. Sometimes I wonder if people just buy the hype without reading themselves. Next. I think you didn't read this book. I think you didn't read it. I truly wanted to give this book 5 stars. However, the author's absolute laziness when building his villain characters was inexcusable. I grew to hate this villainous character so much in this book. I feel like we really got to know him/them. Like, what? There was no reason to have any characters say racial and ableist slurs just to prove they were assholes. Gross and obnoxious. Okay, I don't remember exactly what they mean by that, but it's like, there was way more than just that. There was way more than just that to show who they were. Honestly, what did I just read? Plot was insane and full of holes. I guess all the twists. And how can a book be based at a gas station? It can be. Like, I honestly read to the end because I thought no book could be this bad the whole way through. Turns out it can't. No, I'm actually shocked. I'm actually shocked by these reviews. I'm getting really heated. I'm getting really heated from these. What? Have these people read the book? I kind of want to look at their profiles and see, like, what books did you actually think were good? I think I need to get away from these reviews and go to the next book. Okay, let's check Blood Marked by Tracy Dion. I loved this book a couple years ago. Waited 2 years to watch Bree and Sel argue every 2 chapters. Honestly, if you are not a fan of Bree and Selwyn, you probably won't like this. But I love them so much, so I loved to see them argue. I love to see them interact. Middle book syndrome at its finest. It felt convoluted and all over the place. Bree and Sel's objectives and motives continually switched fast and hard, slowly to serve the plot rather than their character development. And most of the time, it was just for the sake of forcing them together. Love that. And strengthening their part in the whole love triangle saga, which is the weakest part of the series. I actually love that part of the series. It wasn't completely horrible though. Why'd you put 1 star? I like William and Lark and their book 3 potential and more of the Arthurian tie-ins. I just wish Nick had been more present. He got totally shafted this book despite his huge role in the first book. I love his and Sel's deep connection and like his level-headed dynamic with Sel's hot temper and Bree's impulsiveness. Not having the 3 of them together more was such a wasted opportunity. The couple scenes we did get with all of them were great. With the way this book ended, I'm on the fence about whether or not I'll continue the series, but we'll see. I don't know, she seemed to kind of like some parts of it. I didn't even read this book, but I hated the first one so much, so I'm giving it 1 star. That's not fair. That's not fair. Okay, let's check A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which we know I love. From the moment she said, "Holy pepperoni," I realized I was too old to be reading this book. That's funny. I do not remember that. I don't remember that. I made a Goodreads account just so I could give this book 1 star. Maggie, girl, what? Why? Explain to me. But don't explain in a super long review like some of these people. I'm very concerned for this author. It appears they have never once met a real human being in their life. Okay, I'm feeling like I need to reread some of my favorite books because I do not remember some of the things these people are talking about. School projects are getting really wild these days. Do you think we're maybe putting too much pressure on kids? This was fun in the same way I imagine waterboarding is. If you like your characters quirky, you will probably have a field day. If you suffer from secondhand embarrassment, this might kill you. Also, sometimes when authors write about teenagers, I have to question whether they, ever met one before. I'm leaning towards no with this one. Not even because of Pip, but mostly what was up with her friend. That's not how a 17-year-old talks or any human. The mystery was okay. The way of solving it was definitely a way. Pip has a bright future ahead of her. I mean, with her magical abilities to make any stranger tell her anything she wants to know. Truly impressive. She is impressive, okay? This was unbelievably cringe and cringeably unbelievable. I don't know. These comments of it being unbelievable, I'm kind of like side-eyeing. Am I seriously ought to believe that a 17-year-old know-it-all girl solved a case that police couldn't in less than a month? Okay, first of all, you should not be picking up this book to start. If you don't like the idea of that, just don't even pick this up to start. Are police forces really that dumb? No, probably not, but this is a book. Yeah, they used to be back in 70s, but in 2012, they closed such a case without digging further. Anyone with a functional brain would have realized that something was wrong with that case, but no one actually pointed it out until this 17-year-old genius who knows how to solve a murder case in the best way possible showed up and boom. Here's the murder you've been looking for, apparently. Get over it. Also, there was a line in which she said something like, I'm not sure I'm the good girl I once thought I was. I've lost her along the way. Ugh, you shoot me in the face. I mean, that's a bit cheesy of a line, but no reason to give 1 star. This book is so freaking slow. It took me over a week to finish because I was so bored. The last 6 chapters were interesting. Don't waste your time reading. I don't know. I read it in literally 1 day. Okay, let's look at Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Take the scissors, turn the book into paper, hide it under a rock. Very funny. Oof, the character I was most interested in was the dog. Don't remember the dog, but I actually don't understand how you couldn't be interested. I feel like this was such an engaging book. Some of the worst writing I've ever read, truly awful. I think it's so crazy how someone can feel this way about a book and I can give it 5 stars and think it's one of my favorite thrillers. This was kind of boring and not thrilling to me. I see a lot of people rating it 5 stars, but it just didn't meet the mark for me. The plot twists weren't really that twisty. The letters pretty much bored me out of existence. I hoped the end would big the rating up, but it didn't. Personally, I think Adam is an insufferable narcissist. I really didn't like the characters all that much, especially after learning what Adam did. I mean, you don't have to like the characters in thrillers. Come on. I feel like the author could have done more with the face blindness. I expected something to happen with that, but it had no real point to the plot whatsoever. I feel like I remember that it did. This book helped me realize that domestic thrillers featuring white, cis-het married couples aren't really for me, so that's something. I found the twist at the end mildly interesting, and that's about it. Honestly, fair, there are a lot of these types of books out there, but at least she admits the ending twists are interesting. Okay, last one, The Mary Shelley Club. The book started out fun, then went to unbelievable until the ending tipped over to absolutely ridiculous. I don't know, people using that as a reason to dislike a book, I keep saying that, but it just, isn't it fun when a book gets ridiculous? I don't know. My main issue was that I couldn't see these pranks working in real life. How does no one ever see anyone from the club? Are all the members ninjas? Fair. Why does no one seem to have a security system or lock their doors? Does the club have a master key? Can someone pick locks? I don't know because it's never explained how they actually pull all that shit off. It just works. Sometimes people, I think too seriously about certain books. Sometimes they take it too seriously. It's so sad because I think it could have been great for me if things were just a bit more fleshed out and explained. So what? It just would have been better if they explained how they did the pranks. I feel like it would be boring to get into all that, but maybe I'm not the target audience because this book clearly builds on horror stereotypes, and I personally think most horror movies are more funny than scary because they are so over the top and unrealistic. She really has a problem with unrealistic. This kind of sucked, and the only reason I finished it was morbid curiosity to see how it ended. Had some of the worst writing I've ever seen. The audiobook's narrator voice was annoying and melodramatic, and every single character was an absolute asshole or an idiot or both. Not to mention flat and not really interesting. See, sometimes it sucks when a audiobook narrator ruins a book for someone because that's not really the author's fault, My thoughts. The club's initiation rule was cruel. This is a freaking movie club. Chill. Those kids were taking themselves way too seriously. I mean, fair. The club was a mood used unironically by the main character. Open end, as if the author is aiming for a sequel. I hope there won't be one. Almost every character was a terrible person. Kind of the point, I feel. The club members were cruel bullies, and I don't get why they considered each other friends when they wouldn't even spend time with each other in public. None of the side characters had a distinct personality. To be honest, the main character didn't have one either. The plot was a mess, too long, and I still wanted more because nothing felt fully fleshed out. Their movie talks were boring, and thus the discussions felt forced. Movie geeks might appreciate the horror film references. I didn't. I feel like you're taking it too seriously. Okay, that is going to be all for today. I feel like I felt a little bit annoyed filming this for sure. I feel like some of it made me very heated, and also people write way too long of reviews for 1-star reviews. Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh. I feel like if I hated a book so much, I wouldn't even spend that much time like writing a review after. I don't know. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe for more bookish videos. Maybe I'll do another one of these where I read good reviews for books I hate. Let me know if you'd want to see that. See you in my next video. Bye.